"I love watching you sleep," Michael had murmured to me more times than I could count. That night, however, the roles were reversed. I was the one watching him, his chest rising and falling in peaceful, guilt-free slumber, while I scrolled through 82 text messages exchanged between him and my sister. Messages that took 5 years of trust and crumbled them into dust in under 5 minutes. The cold light of his phone cast a pale glow on his face. He was handsome, even in the act of betrayal, as my entire world collapsed in the silent space between us. I'm with her right now, just killing time until I can be with you again. She doesn't have a clue. God, we're awful people, aren't we? Totally worth it, though. I've never felt this way about anyone. Each message was a fresh stab from a serrated blade. I hadn't gone looking for proof. I had simply reached for his phone to silence a buzzing text at 2 in the morning. A single notification from client. Henderson was all it took to unravel everything. Ashley, my own sister, saved under a thinly veiled alias. He hadn't even bothered to lock his phone, having fallen asleep while texting her. The universe, it seems, has a particularly cruel sense of humor. Just 3 hours earlier, he had made love to me, whispering about the names of our future children. Now, I sat frozen on the edge of our bed, finally grasping that our entire life, our engagement, our search for a house, our shared future, was a foundation of lies. I didn't shed a tear. Not in that moment. Something colder, more solid took root in my chest. I gently placed his phone back on the nightstand exactly as I'd found it, the screen now dark. I watched him breathe for another hour, committing the face of this stranger to memory. The man I thought I knew. Michael had always been the steady, reliable force in my life. While my parents' world revolved around Ashley's academic trophies and drama club performances, I had built my own quiet world around Michael's dependable presence. His job in marketing wasn't exciting, but his predictability was my sanctuary. A call every day at lunch, home by 6:30, Chinese takeout on Fridays. That unwavering consistency had been my safe harbor after a lifetime spent in Ashley's dazzling shadow. The warning signs had been there, flashing for weeks, maybe even months. The sudden cancellations of dinner with my parents, the late nights he claimed were for crunch time at the office, the abrupt new interest in his wardrobe, new shirts, a gym membership, a brand of cologne I'd never bought for him. But hope is a powerful set of blinders. I had woven excuses for him, stress from a big campaign, a desire to look his best for our wedding, a series of simple coincidences. Everything okay, honey? I'd asked the weekend before, when he vanished for 2 hours during a trip to the mall. Just had to return something at another store, he'd said, a slight flush coloring his neck. That flush should have been a screaming siren, but I'd just nodded and taken his hand. Now, I wondered if Ashley had been waiting for him in some fitting room, tapping her foot impatiently for the man I was sharing. The morning after my discovery, I woke up as a different person, a woman with a singular purpose. I made Michael breakfast, kissed his cheek as he left for work, and then began a systematic excavation of our life, hunting for every last piece of their deception. His laptop password, my own birthday, the irony was sickening, gave me access to months of emails. The location history on his phone showed a recurring pattern of visits to addresses just blocks from Ashley's downtown apartment. The recently deleted folder on his cloud account held photos that gave me glimpses of her living room, a space I knew well from family holidays. I called in sick to my editorial job that day, and the next. Methodically, I created digital folders, took screenshots, and made backups on a separate hard drive. Not once did I break down, though my hands trembled so violently at times that I had to sit on them, waiting for the shaking to pass. There would be time for falling apart later. This was the time for gathering ammunition. The final visceral confirmation came 3 days later. I followed him from work during what he'd called a lunch meeting with a new client. I watched from my car as he parked outside the small bistro where he had first told me he loved me, the place where he'd asked me to move in with him. 5 minutes later, Ashley's white convertible pulled up. I took photos as they kissed right at the entrance, his hand resting possessively on the small of her back, the exact spot where his hand had rested on mine 1,000 times. I could have stormed in. A part of me, a primal wounded part, wanted to drag her out of that restaurant by her perfectly styled blonde hair and scream until my throat was raw. Instead, I drove to a nearby electronics store and purchased 3 miniature spy cameras. Home security, I told the young sales clerk. A smile stretched unnaturally across my face. You can never be too safe these days. That evening, while Michael was in the shower, I installed the first camera in our living room, disguised as a USB wall charger. The second went into a digital clock on the bookshelf in our bedroom. The third would have to wait until I found an opportunity to get into his office. The monitoring app on my phone gave me crystal clear feeds of our most private spaces, spaces that were now polluted with the question of whether they had been together in our bed, on our couch. You seem a little distant, Michael observed over dinner, his hand reaching for mine. Just wedding planning stress. I'm tired, I replied, squeezing his fingers and wondering if those same fingers had been intertwined with my sister's just hours before. Nothing a good night's sleep won't solve. The cameras delivered their damning payload within days. Michael, pacing our living room, speaking intently into his phone. I know it's not simple, Ash. I can't just end it with her out of the blue. That would look too suspicious. A pause. Yes, I've figured out a way to do it publicly, so she can't cause a scene. I promise. After the anniversary party, it'll be just us. Each evening became a grim ritual of evidence collection. I created spreadsheets cross-referencing their secret meetings with his fabricated excuses to me. I saved audio clips, labeled photographs, and built a meticulous, gut-wrenching timeline of their affair. The grotesque intimacy of knowing the precise when and how of their betrayal became an almost numbing poison. 3 weeks into my surveillance, I discovered they'd been together for nearly 8 months, starting almost immediately after our engagement. The timeline suggested their affair had ignited at my own engagement party. The champagne toast Ashley had given, her eyes glistening with fake tears as she welcomed Michael to the family, now took on a nauseating new light. The cameras captured Michael on the phone with her late one night while I was out visiting our mother. The anniversary party is the perfect stage. Your parents and everyone will be there to see it. No, Megan won't suspect a thing, not until the second it happens. I've already bought the ring. My blood ran cold. My parents' 40th anniversary party was just 3 weeks away. Whatever they were plotting, it was going to happen there in front of my entire world. The puzzle pieces snapped into place. It was a planned public execution. My sister had always needed to be the star of the show, and apparently she required a full audience for her ultimate triumph over me. The wave of devastation that had been building inside me finally broke one night in the shower, where the sound of the water could muffle my sobs. I slid down the tiled wall, wrapping my arms around my knees, letting out silent, throat-tearing screams. I allowed myself exactly 20 minutes to shatter before I stood up, dried myself off, and got back to work on my spreadsheets. In my darkest moments, I thought about just confronting them, ending the whole charade. But a colder, harder part of me kept me on my methodical path. If they wanted a public spectacle, then a public spectacle they would get. Just not the one they had in mind. This level of betrayal deserved more than a quiet, private conversation. It deserved more than tears and arguments that could be easily twisted and dismissed as the ramblings of a jealous, hysterical sister. For almost 3 months, I was the perfect actress. I discussed floral arrangements, feigned excitement over wedding venues, and even went to lunch with Ashley, where she helped me pick out invitation fonts while wearing a pair of earrings I knew for a fact Michael had bought her on our joint credit card. "You seem different lately," my mother noted during a family dinner. More confident. If only she knew. What she was seeing wasn't confidence. It was the icy calm of a woman who had already lost everything. What I had lost in love, I had gained in purpose. Every fake smile I gave Michael, every pretend kiss, every sisterly hug I gave Ashley was one step closer to the moment I would finally show them and everyone else exactly who they were, and in doing so, exactly who I had become. As the date of the party drew near, I made my final moves. The cameras had provided everything I needed, their plans, their words, their treachery, all documented in high-definition clarity. They thought they were holding all the cards, completely unaware that I had been watching them deal from the bottom of the deck. The night before the party, I slid into bed beside Michael, my face a perfect mask of loving contentment. "I'm really excited about tomorrow," I said, and it was the truth. "I think it's going to be a day none of us will ever forget." He pulled me close, kissed my forehead, and murmured his agreement. For the first time in months, neither of us was lying. I was awake before dawn the day after I overheard Michael's final confirmation of their plan. My mind was sharp, focused. I'd spent weeks collecting the artifacts of their betrayal. Now it was time to set my own stage. Over breakfast, I brought up my parents' 40th anniversary party. I was thinking we should make a special announcement there, I suggested, stirring milk into my tea. Maybe we could finally set our wedding date? Everyone will be there, and it would make Mom and Dad's celebration even more memorable. Michael nearly choked on his muffin. Don't you think that might take the spotlight off your parents?" I reached across the table, placing my hand over his. "Oh, Dad would love it. And Mom's been bugging me about save the dates for weeks." I watched his eyes shift, the gears turning in his head. "But if you think it's a bad idea?" "No," he said, a little too quickly. "No, you're right. The party would be the perfect time." I smiled, knowing he was mentally scrambling to adjust the script he and Ashley had so carefully prepared. Great. I'll tell Mom to make sure Ashley can be there. She's been so busy with work lately, I feel like I barely see her. The mention of my sister made his jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. "I'm sure she'll make it," he said, his voice a carefully constructed neutral. "It's her parents' anniversary, too." That afternoon, I called my mother, making a show of flipping through my planner while Michael pretended to watch TV from the couch. "The party sounds amazing, Mom. And hey, Michael and I were actually hoping to share some good news there." I shot him a conspiratorial wink. "Can you just make sure everyone can come? Especially Ashley. She's been so distant lately." My mother sighed her familiar sigh. "You know your sister. Always a drama. But I'll make sure she's there, sweetie. Don't you worry. Perfect." With one phone call, I had cemented my role as the blissfully unaware fiancé, while ensuring both traitors would be present for the final act. Michael visibly relaxed after I hung up, even suggesting we watch a movie. The first time in weeks, he hadn't invented a reason to be glued to his phone. Playing the oblivious bride-to-be became my full-time job. I left bridal magazines open on the coffee table, bookmarked to pages of extravagant reception halls. I created shared Pinterest boards filled with wedding dress ideas. I even scheduled a cake tasting for the week after the party. Each move was a carefully placed brick in the wall of their confidence. "You seem really excited about the wedding all of a sudden," Michael commented one night as I browsed honeymoon packages for Italy. "I'm just ready to make it official," I replied, looking up at him with practiced adoration. "After all this time, I'm excited to finally be Mrs. Davies." The lie tasted like ash in my mouth, but his relieved smile was all the confirmation I needed. My performance was a success. In the background, I was methodically dismantling our life together. I made trips to my bank on my lunch breaks, opening a new separate account and transferring my savings over in small, untraceable increments. I contacted our apartment's management company about the penalty for breaking our lease, citing a potential out-of-state job offer. Just exploring my options. I told Michael when a lease termination form accidentally fell out of my work bag. Nothing definite. He accepted it without a second thought, likely relieved at the prospect of an easy escape after his planned public humiliation. The engagement ring was a unique challenge. Michael had spent over $9,000 on it, money that was supposed to have gone toward a down payment on a house. The cushion-cut diamond had once been a symbol of our future. Now it was just a glittering monument to his lies. I found the jeweler's receipt in his desk drawer while searching for other documents. In that same drawer, tucked in the back, was a small velvet box. I assumed it held Ashley's ring. I didn't open it. Some things are better left unseen. During an afternoon when Michael was supposedly at a marketing conference, I drove to a jewelry district across town where no one knew me. A small, family-run shop that specialized in replicas had exactly what I needed: a nearly flawless cubic zirconia copy of my ring for $40. Its artificial sparkle was, to the untrained eye, indistinguishable from the real thing. "A gift for a special occasion?" the jeweler asked as he wrapped it up. "Something like that," I said. That night, while Michael was showering, I made the switch. The real diamond went into a hidden pocket of my purse. Its counterfeit counterpart took its place on my finger. Michael, of course, never noticed. With 2 weeks left until the party, I finalized my exit strategy. I renewed my passport, telling Michael I was having a girls' spa day, but actually spending the afternoon at the passport agency. I researched destinations that screamed new beginnings, finally settling on the Amalfi Coast. The colorful cliffside villages and endless blue sea represented the clean slate my soul craved. I booked a one-way flight departing the morning after the party, using reward points from a credit card Michael didn't know existed. A small private villa overlooking the ocean would be my sanctuary for 2 weeks, a buffer of time and distance to begin healing. Taking a half day on Friday, I mentioned casually the week of the party. Need to get my nails done and run some errands before the big day. Michael just nodded, his thumbs flying across his phone screen as he no doubt coordinated with Ashley. "Sure, no problem. I have meetings all afternoon anyway. My errands involved a trip to my new bank to open a safe deposit box. I stored my passport, my important documents, and the very real engagement ring inside. I also withdrew enough cash to last me for weeks, stashing it in different compartments of a new suitcase, hidden at my friend Sarah's apartment." Sarah was the only one who knew parts of my plan. "Are you sure this is the right way to handle this?" she asked as I dropped off the suitcase. "Why not just leave him?" "Trust me," I said, giving her a tight hug. "This is so much better." The final piece fell into place 3 days before the party. While Michael was out for a round of golf with the guys, I composed a short, brutal note to go with the fake ring. Trashy, just like your new fiancé. Simple, direct, devastating. I sealed it in a small envelope and tucked it into the side pocket of my overnight bag, right next to a USB drive containing the curated highlights of their betrayal. The night before the party, I made my last preparations with the precision of a surgeon. My overnight bag from my parents' house held only the essentials, plus the tools of my revenge. My real luggage, filled with everything I needed for my new life, was waiting at Sarah's. My flight and rental confirmations were memorized, with screenshots saved to a draft email I could access from anywhere. Standing in our bathroom, I looked at my reflection. The woman staring back was different. There was a hardness around her eyes, a determined set to her mouth. I practiced my expressions for tomorrow: surprise, hurt, and then dignified silence. Each had a role to play. Michael wrapped his arms around me from behind, his eyes meeting mine in the mirror. "Let's get to bed early," he suggested. "Tomorrow is going to be a big day." If only he knew. I turned in his arms, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "The biggest," I agreed. I slept soundly that night. There is a certain peace that comes with knowing exactly what the future holds. As the sun rose on the day of the party, I woke up feeling unnervingly calm. The anxiety that had been my constant companion for months had burned away, leaving only cold, hard resolution. I packed the final items into my overnight bag: the envelope with its vicious little note, the USB drive, and a change of clothes for my flight. I made sure the family group chat was ready on my phone, confirming all members were present to receive my broadcast. Michael was a bundle of nerves, changing his shirt twice and repeatedly patting his jacket pocket, undoubtedly making sure Ashley's ring was still there. I pretended not to notice, keeping myself busy by arranging a fruit platter I had no intention of ever serving. "Ready to go?" he asked, his keys jangling, his voice a pitch higher than usual. I took one final look around our apartment. It was once our home, but now it was just a stage, set for the final act of a tragedy. "Absolutely ready," I said, and for the first time in 3 months, I meant it. The 40-minute drive to my parents' house felt like an eternity. Michael's knuckles were white as he gripped the steering wheel, his left hand constantly tapping the pocket where Ashley's ring lay in wait. The radio played cheesy love songs, a perfect, ironic soundtrack to our silent journey. "Nervous about something?" I asked innocently as we pulled onto my parents' street with its familiar canopy of oak trees. He jumped. "What? Number? Just thinking about a work thing." "On a Saturday? At your future in-laws' 40th anniversary party?" I smiled and put my hand on his arm. "Try to relax and enjoy the day, okay?" The irony was so thick I could taste it. Me comforting him about the stress of his own meticulously planned betrayal of me. He managed a weak smile that looked more like a grimace. Poor Michael. The burden of deception was clearly weighing on him. Colorful balloons tied to the mailbox signaled we had arrived. Dad had hung string lights across the backyard, and the scent of grilled chicken was already in the air. The street was lined with cars. My uncle's truck, my cousin's SUV, and near the end of the block, Ashley's pristine white convertible. "Looks like we're the last to arrive," I remarked, watching his eyes scan the vehicles, lingering for a moment on Ashley's car. "Guess so," he muttered, quickly checking his reflection in the rearview mirror. Mom greeted us at the door with her usual warm hugs, pulling us through the house and into the backyard where laughter and music filled the air. I saw Ashley immediately. She was holding court by the patio furniture, wearing a new sundress I'd seen her eyeing on a recent shopping trip, one she'd claimed was too expensive. Apparently, Michael's wallet had a different budget for her. Our eyes met across the lawn, and her smile faltered for just a second before she recovered, waving with exaggerated cheerfulness. "Megan! Michael! You made it!" She rushed over and gave me a hug that was far too tight, her cloying perfume, another scent I recognized from his credit card statements, making me want to gag. "Traffic was a nightmare," Michael explained lamely, his gaze darting between the two of us. Their anxiety was almost funny. They were like two high school actors forgetting their lines on opening night. As I made my way through the party, greeting aunts, uncles, and cousins, I started noticing the strange looks. My Aunt Carol held my hand a moment too long, her eyes filled with what looked like pity. My Uncle David started to ask about the wedding, then abruptly changed the subject when Michael walked over. My cousin Chris wouldn't even look at me. They knew, or they'd been warned. By the grill, my father looked uncharacteristically tense for a man celebrating 40 years of marriage. When I hugged him, his arms wrapped around me with a protective squeeze. "You doing okay, kiddo?" he asked quietly. "Of course, Dad. It's your big day." My performance was holding strong, but the knot in my stomach was tightening. How many people had they told? Were they priming the audience for the main event? Mom bustled over with a tray of iced tea, her smile looking brittle. "Michael, Ashley was just asking about that new condo development downtown. You know the market. Maybe you could give her some advice." It was an obvious, clumsy setup. Michael nodded eagerly. "Sure thing, Mrs. Peterson." I watched them wander over to a quiet corner of the yard, their heads bent close together. Their pathetic attempt at being discreet would have been painful to watch if I weren't so far beyond feeling pain. "They're not very subtle, are they?" The voice came from my elbow. It was my teenage niece, Olivia, holding a plate of brownies. I kept my face a perfect neutral. "At what?" Olivia rolled her eyes with all the wisdom of a 16-year-old. "Please, my mom told me to be ready for some drama today. You adults think we're all clueless." She gestured toward Michael and Ashley. He's been checking that spot on his jacket every 2 minutes, and she keeps checking her makeup in her phone. Something is definitely going on. My heart warmed to Olivia, my unexpected co-conspirator. "Want to help me grab more napkins from the house?" I asked. Away from the crowd, I squeezed her hand. "Whatever happens later, just remember that things aren't always what they seem." Her eyes widened in understanding. I just nodded. Just watch. When we returned, the party was in full swing. The tension was a living thing, a third guest at every conversation. Lunch was a buffet, and I strategically sat with my elderly grandparents, keeping them entertained with stories about work. Across the table, Michael kept glancing at his watch. Ashley was twisting a strand of her hair. My mother's smile grew tighter with every passing minute. After lunch, my dad stood up to give a toast to my mom. Family members raised their glasses, phones came out for pictures, and for a few minutes, the genuine love in the yard overshadowed the simmering tension. I allowed myself a brief moment of real happiness for my parents. 40 years. That was real. As dessert plates were being passed around, Michael caught my eye and gave a slight nod toward the large oak tree at the far end of the yard. "Can I talk to you for a second?" he asked, just loud enough for those nearby to hear. The time had come. I followed him, feeling a strange sense of calm, as if I were watching a movie. This was just the final scene, and I already knew how it ended. Under the shade of the old tree where I'd spent countless childhood afternoons, Michael turned to face me. His expression was a carefully rehearsed blend of sorrow and resolve. He took both of my hands in his, a practiced gesture that made my skin crawl. "Megan," he began, his voice pitched to carry. "These last few months, they've made me realize some things." He paused, scanning the crowd to make sure he had an audience. Several relatives were now pretending to admire my mother's rose bushes a little too closely. Ashley stood halfway between the patio and us, her face a perfect mask of feigned concern. "I care about you, I really do," Michael continued, "but I've come to realize you're just not marriage material." There it was, the line he'd practiced, the public execution. Behind him, I saw my mother's hand fly to her mouth. My father's face went dark with rage. I said nothing. I just watched him, my silence making him falter. "What I mean is," he stammered, "we want different things. And I found someone who really gets me." On cue, Ashley stepped forward, her timing perfect as more phones were raised to record the moment. Michael dropped my hands and walked to her, pulling the velvet box from his pocket. A few relatives gasped as he sank to one knee in front of my sister. "Ashley," he announced, his voice ringing out across the now silent yard, "you are everything I have ever wanted. Will you marry me?" Her practiced tears shimmered as she brought her hands to her mouth in mock surprise. "Yes," she breathed. "Oh, Michael, yes." Phones flashed as he slid the ring onto her finger. A few confused guests offered hesitant applause. My Uncle David looked like he was going to be sick. Aunt Carol was openly glaring at Ashley. I remained perfectly still, my expression deliberately, unnervingly blank. No tears, no yelling. I didn't throw a drink or make a dramatic exit, just silence. It was the one reaction they hadn't planned for. Their moment of triumph sputtered in the face of my composure. Michael's victorious smile wavered. Ashley's eyes darted around, her big moment falling flat. My father started toward them, his fists clenched, but I gave a tiny, almost imperceptible shake of my head. He stopped, his anger giving way to confusion. "Congratulations," I said finally, my voice calm and clear in the awkward quiet. "You two deserve each other." The simplicity of it seemed to throw them off balance more than any outburst could have. This was not the script. There was no hysterical ex-fiancé, no dramatic scene to justify their narrative of my instability. As relatives swarmed them with a mixture of forced congratulations and uncomfortable questions, I calmly walked over to the dessert table, cut a slice of my father's favorite carrot cake, and brought it to him with a reassuring smile. "I'm okay, Dad," I whispered. "I promise." For the next hour, I moved through the party with a serene grace, deflecting worried inquiries with simple, non-committal answers. It's for the best. These things happen. I'm fine, really. Each calm word I spoke was another small crack in Ashley's victorious facade. I saw her watching me, a flicker of doubt in her eyes as her grand victory failed to deliver the drama she craved. Michael looked increasingly cornered as my uncles began grilling him about his timing. As the sun began to dip below the trees, I hugged my bewildered parents goodbye. "I will explain everything tomorrow," I promised, kissing my mother's cheek. "For now, just know that I am much, much better than I look." Michael and Ashley made a hasty exit, her new ring flashing in the fading light as they escaped the growing judgment of our family. I turned down multiple offers to stay the night, insisting I just needed some time alone. As I drove away, I checked my phone. My morning flight was on time. The trap was sprung. Now for the checkmate. The drive back to the apartment, my apartment now, was surreal. The streetlights streaked past the window as I drove the familiar route for the very last time. There were no tears. Instead, there was a strange feeling of lightness in my chest. The worst was over, it had happened exactly as I'd foreseen, and I had not only survived it but controlled it. The next 12 hours would be the culmination of 3 months of silent, calculated patience. The apartment was dark and quiet. I moved through the rooms with methodical purpose, collecting the last few things I hadn't already moved to Sarah's. A picture of my grandparents, a small music box from my mother, the worn leather journal I'd kept since I was a teenager. They weren't just objects, they were the pieces of me that Michael and Ashley couldn't touch. I changed into comfortable travel clothes, then went around and collected the hidden cameras, wiping all traces of my surveillance. Then came the final preparation for Ashley's little surprise. I took the envelope from my bag, running my thumb over the note inside. Trashy. Just like your new fiancé. After seeing their performance today, it didn't feel like enough. I opened the envelope and added a postscript. P.S. Check the family group chat at 7 a.m. You're about to be famous. It was subtle enough to pique her curiosity, but clear enough to ruin her night. Now for the delivery. I knew exactly where Ashley would look first when she and Michael eventually came here. The antique jewelry box on my dresser, where I always put my engagement ring when I showered or did the dishes. Michael had seen me do it 1,000 times. I placed the cheap, fake ring right in the center, propping the note against it. I knew Ashley's insecurity would compel her to compare her new ring to my old one. She needed constant validation. The bait was set. I moved to my laptop at the kitchen table to finalize the digital part of my revenge. I had spent weeks editing the footage from the cameras, weaving the most damning clips into a brutal 8-minute montage that told the whole ugly story. The opening scene, Michael on the phone with Ashley in our living room, laughing about how I hadn't noticed a single thing. Cut to Michael and Ashley on our couch while I was visiting my parents, his hand sliding up her thigh as he promised to end things with me in a way she'll never forget. Cut to Ashley looking through my bridal magazines, rolling her eyes and mocking my taste while Michael chuckled beside her. Cut to an explicit conversation about their physical encounters filmed in my bedroom. The final clip was the masterpiece. Michael in the bathroom mirror, rehearsing his "you're just not marriage material" speech, with Ashley coaching him via text on his tone and delivery. I added simple text overlays with dates and times, creating an undeniable timeline of the affair. No dramatic music, no voiceover, just their own words and actions. The truth didn't need any embellishment. I scheduled the video to upload to the Peterson family group chat at exactly 7 a.m., late enough that they'd have spent the night celebrating, but early enough to catch everyone with their Sunday morning coffee. An email pinged with my flight confirmation. Everything was in place. I checked the family chat one last time. It was already a mess of confusion. "Megan, please call me. We're all so worried. Dad, what in the world happened today?" Michael isn't answering his phone. Aunt Carol. I never did like that boy. I didn't reply. Tomorrow's video would answer all their questions. Around midnight, I heard a key in the lock. My heart leaped into my throat. This wasn't part of the plan. He was supposed to be with Ashley. I ducked into the hall closet just as the door opened. Michael came in alone, moving quietly, probably assuming I was asleep. I watched through the crack in the door as he gathered a few things: a dopp kit, a change of clothes, his work laptop. He wasn't staying, just grabbing his essentials. He paused by the bedroom door as if debating whether to come in. After a long moment, he turned away. Coward. He couldn't even face me. As he was packing, his phone buzzed. He answered in a hushed whisper. "I know, babe. It went off without a hitch." "No, I haven't seen her. I think she's asleep. Just getting some stuff, and then I'm coming right back to you. Yeah, she barely even reacted, just like we thought. Her parents are pissed, but they'll get over it. I'll grab the ring paperwork too for the insurance." Every word was another nail in his coffin. I stayed perfectly still until the door clicked shut behind him. Only then did I emerge, checking that my trap was still set. The fake ring and note were untouched. The video was armed and ready. I slept surprisingly well. It was the deep, dreamless sleep of someone who has finally relinquished all uncertainty. My alarm went off at 6:30 a.m. I showered, dressed, and drank a cup of coffee at the kitchen table. At 6:55, I had my phone propped up against a glass of water, ready to watch the fireworks. At exactly 7 a.m., my phone pinged with the automated confirmation. Video successfully uploaded to Peterson family chat. I imagined Michael and Ashley tangled in her sheets, waking up and checking their phones. I pictured their confusion turning to dawning horror as they realized what was happening. Within 60 seconds, my phone exploded. I watched the chat erupt in real time. Mom, "Oh my God. Megan, is this real?" Dad, "That son of a..." Aunt Carol, "I knew it." Cousin Chris, "Holy crap, did everyone just see that?" Ashley started typing, stopped, then started again. Michael's name popped up, then vanished. They were in a full-blown panic with no idea how to respond to the irrefutable proof of their treachery, playing on the phones of 24 family members. My parents called 3 times in a row. I sent a single text, "I'm okay. I'll call when I land. Love you." Then came the desperate texts from Michael. "Megan, please, we need to talk. This isn't what it looks like. Where are you? Answer me." Ashley's messages were a mix of threats and pathetic pleas. "You had no right to record us. You have to take this down now. I'm sorry, okay? But this is psychotic. You're ruining our lives." At 7:15, a frantic call from Michael. I answered, but said nothing, just listening to his ragged breathing. "Megan, are you there? Look, what you did. I'm coming over right now. We need to talk about this." "I wouldn't bother," I said calmly. "I'm not there. And you might want to check on your precious new ring before you go anywhere." I hung up, picturing him rushing to Ashley's side, her showing him my note, the slow, sickening realization that the diamond he'd used for his grand public proposal was as fake as their love. The digital mushroom cloud was still expanding as Sarah's car pulled up to the curb. My phone showed that several relatives had already created a new group chat, one that excluded Michael and Ashley, to voice their support for me. My niece Olivia had apparently become my official spokesperson, writing, "Aunt Megan is a legend and I want to be her when I grow up." That message unexpectedly brought the first tears to my eyes since this whole nightmare began. At the airport, Sarah gave me a fierce hug. "Text me the second you land," she insisted. "And Megan, I am so proud of you." In the terminal, I found my gate and sat down. As they called for boarding, I sent one last message to my parents with my temporary Italian number and a promise to call soon. Then I switched off my phone, feeling the weight of the last 3 months finally slide from my shoulders. As the plane climbed into the sky, I gazed out the window. Down below, Michael and Ashley were sifting through the smoking ruins of their lives, their reputations, and any shred of sympathy they might have had. The sweet, clean taste of revenge was still on my tongue, but as we broke through the clouds, it was replaced by something even better, the taste of freedom. The 10-hour flight passed in a haze of restless sleep and bad movies. When we finally landed in Naples, the distance I felt wasn't just geographical, it was emotional. I had put an ocean between my old life and whatever was waiting for me. The connecting flight to the Amalfi Coast was on a smaller plane that dipped and soared over the impossibly blue Tyrrhenian Sea. As the island of Capri came into view, with its vibrant villages clinging to the cliffs, something inside me stirred. It wasn't quite happiness, but it was the possibility of it. The taxi driver who took me to my rented villa was a cheerful man named Marco, who pointed out ancient ruins with a grandfatherly warmth. "First time on the coast?" he asked in his melodic, accented English. "First time being free," I replied, and the words felt more true than anything I had said in years. The property manager, a chic woman named Sophia, showed me around the villa, which was even more beautiful than the pictures. "You are here all alone?" she asked, her tone curious but not unkind. "Completely," I said, surprised by how the word felt like a declaration of independence, not a confession of loneliness. After she left, I unpacked, showered off the stale airplane air, and slept for 14 straight hours. I woke to sunlight streaming through white linen curtains. For a split second, I didn't know where I was, my hand reaching for a space in the bed that was no longer occupied. Then it all came flooding back. The party, the ring, the video, the escape. I sat bolt upright, my heart hammering, before a wave of calm washed over me. The worst was over. I had survived. On the terrace, a breakfast of fresh figs, yogurt with honey, and strong, sweet espresso was waiting for me. A note from Sophia explained she'd taken the liberty since I had slept so long. The simple kindness of a stranger almost made me cry. I ate slowly, watching small fishing boats cut across the glittering water below. My burner phone sat on the table, still turned off. When I finally powered it on, the notifications flooded in. I ignored the dozens of missed calls and opened only the messages from my parents and Sarah. "Mom, we are so sorry, honey. We had no idea. Please just tell us you're safe." "Dad, that video told us everything. Don't you worry about a thing. We're here for you." "Sarah, just checked your old phone. Full-scale meltdown is an understatement. Michael showed up at your parents' house crying. Your dad told him where to go in very colorful terms. Call me." I smiled, picturing my gentle, quiet father finally unleashing his protective fury. Instead of calling, I took a photo of the stunning view from my terrace and sent it to them with a simple message. "I'm safe. I'm healing. We'll call soon." Then I turned off notifications and went out to explore my new, temporary home. The Amalfi Coast in late spring was a dream. I wandered through winding cobblestone streets, buying lemon-scented soap from a family-run shop and a handmade leather journal from a tiny bookstore, the first one Michael would never see. That evening, I sat at a cliffside cafe, sipping wine and watching the sunset paint the sky in strokes of orange and purple. In my new journal, I didn't write about Michael or Ashley. I wrote about the taste of salt on the air, the sound of distant church bells, and the feeling of the warm sun on my skin. 3 days passed before I called my parents. My mother answered on the first ring. "Megan! Oh, thank God. Are you okay? Where are you?" "I'm in Italy, Mom. And yes, I'm okay. Or I'm getting there. Don't you dare apologize for that video," she said, her voice fierce. "We saw everything. Your sister? She tried to say you faked it, but nobody believed her. She's staying with a friend. She can't show her face." She paused. "And Michael, he lost his job. Apparently, someone from the family chat sent the video to his company's HR department. I hadn't planned for that. For a moment, I felt a flicker of something. Not guilt, but an awareness of the sheer scale of the fallout. Then I remembered his smug face as he told me I wasn't marriage material, and the feeling vanished. "When are you coming home?" she asked. "I'm not sure yet," I said honestly. "I think I need to figure out who I am without him." My days fell into a peaceful, healing rhythm. Mornings were for writing, afternoons for exploring. I hiked ancient trails, learned to make pasta from a woman named Isabella, who laughed at my clumsy attempts, and spent hours just reading on my sun-drenched terrace. Halfway through my trip, Sarah called with the latest news. Michael and Ashley's relationship had imploded. He blamed her for pushing him into the public proposal. She blamed him for being weak. "Karma's working overtime," Sarah said. "So what's next for you?" I looked out at the endless blue horizon. I applied for a remote editor position at that literary journal I've always loved, the one Michael said was a waste of time. And I have a video interview next week. Her squeal of excitement was the validation I didn't know I needed. For the first time in years, I was making a choice for me and only me. On my last night in Italy, I dressed up in a blue sundress I'd bought in Positano and went to the most beautiful restaurant I could find. I ordered a bottle of Prosecco, not to celebrate revenge, but to celebrate my own resurrection. As the waiter poured the first glass, an email notification popped up on my phone. "Dear Ms. Peterson, we are delighted to offer you the position of assistant editor." Tears blurred my vision, but for the first time in a long time, they were tears of pure joy. I raised my glass to the darkening sky where the first stars were beginning to appear. "To new beginnings," I whispered. The Prosecco tasted like freedom. Behind me lay the ashes of a life I'd thought I wanted. Before me stretched something far more precious, a future that was entirely my own. My revenge had been perfect, but my recovery? That was going to be my masterpiece. End of story.